Rev up your engines!
Heinz Doofenshmirtz says, Scotty, what do you think of the Fiat coming back to America in 2024 as a Fiat 500 electric car? I'd never buy a Fiat. I mean, the quality control is crap. But I have to say, at least for once, it's not a bad idea to have small electric cars. That would make the most sense to me, not big old ones. The smaller they are, the less weight they have to pull, so they don't need as big batteries, and they get a good range because they're a small car. They charge up faster, and as I read the other day, the average trip an American makes is only 6 miles, so why not have a commuting car that's a little baby electric car? Now, as for a Fiat 500 electric car, I wouldn't buy one with a 10-foot pole. They're Italian. What Italian cars have problems with? Their electric systems. So I would never buy an electric Fiat, but the idea is a good one. If you look at the smart cars, they did the same thing. They were making gasoline cars, and then they decided to switch, and now I guess all of the smart cars are electric cars, and they're little cars. I actually drove an electric smart car in Houston, and it was fun. Now, it was back years ago, and the technology wasn't as good. It only had a range of about 80 miles. But then again, if you're only zooming around in town, hey, the coolest thing, if you watch the video I made, you could sit in the middle of the intersection when there's no one around and just twirl around in a circle. And they were fun to drive. I don't think I'd be buying an electric Italian car. I just don't think I would. Their quality, Cape 3015 says, how do I prove Toyota damaged my car? I got an 08 Toyota Highlander. The white paint was flaking off. Toyota repainted the car over. The problem is they damaged it while they did. The front door was rubbing against the right quarter panel and scraping in brand new paint, so they had to fix that. They damaged the right front passenger door panel, and they're going to replace that too. Problem is the rear tailgate lift doesn't go up and down, which it did before they painted it. They say, oh, it's dry rotted, and they want $650 to replace the sensor, giving us the insurance rates in quotes. What can I do about this? They repainted the car, right? And if they did it right, they took a bunch of stuff apart, which obviously they did because your door was rubbing, so they took it off and then they put it back on, and they did a crappy job. They obviously damaged the back, and they're just being scumbags. My advice, call the Toyota 1-800 consumer line and mention Scotty. Show them this video. Say, hey, you painted it, but then you broke all the stuff when you were painting the car. Stand behind it. Don't give it this BS. It was already broken. You know it wasn't broken. It's your car. You knew it was working, and then you turn it and it doesn't work. It didn't miraculously break while it was sitting there. They had to take all that crap apart to paint the back, tailgate and stuff, take it off, paint it. Obviously, they damaged it. Hey, use this video. Call their consumer complaint line. See what happens. They're always trying to get money out of something. That's just how those guys go. And they don't check anything. They paint me. Here's your car back. This is another reason I tell people what you want to do, especially if you have any kind of wreck damage. Before you give them the check, say I want to road test car. Road test it, check everything, the windows, the doors. You can't trust people these days. If something isn't working, say, nope, you're not getting the check. Fix this before I give you the check. Because once they got the check, they try to wheedle out of everything. It's just the way that it goes. So always test out stuff first and don't pay them until it's fixed right. Because once they have your money, they don't care. JHC 1950 says, should I get ceramic coating? My wife has a 2013 Lexus ES350. Is ceramic coating worth the expense? Is it a good way to protect the paint? As far as I'm concerned, most of that stuff's a giant scam. They're trying to sell you stuff that really doesn't do all that much. Lexus paints their cars quite well. You really don't need to do anything to them except clean them, wax or polishing them 2 or 3 times a year. That's what you want to do. These, oh, we'll put a ceramic coating on it, it'll last forever. What a load of hoo-ha. It's just people selling you a bunch of crap that you don't need to buy. To begin with, your car's already got paint and wax on it. Most of it's a bunch of baloney. Now, I mean, if something's done at the factory, okay. But if you're just sticking stuff on top of it, you just peeing your money away doing stuff like that. They just take advantage of people like you that have a nice car. That, oh, look, you don't want that paint to go, well, you know, we'll do this. And I've seen people pay $1,000 to have these ceramic coatings put on. It's generally a load of nonsense. Don't waste your money on such things. 420 says, why does my car hesitate when I accelerate? It happens here and there. Any idea? Well, lots of reasons can cause a car to hesitate. But the first thing you want to do, look at the spark plugs. Maybe they're worn. Pull them out. If the gap's too big, they're worn, put them in. Easily can fix it. A clogged air filter can do that. And very commonly, a clogged fuel filter can do that. Now, let's say you change all those and it still does it. Then what I would do is Pressure test the fuel pump, because a weak fuel pump will do it, but you can't test the fuel pump until you change the fuel filter first, because if the fuel filter's clogged and you pressure test it, you might have a low pressure and then buy a $400 or $500 fuel pump job and find out it still does it because the filter's clogged. Changing the filter first could fix the whole thing. Hard work, says Scotty. What happens to 2021 models that don't get sold? We pay excise tax. So does the state lose money if nobody's paying on it? How does that work? What a lot of people don't know is the dealerships don't own any of the cars on their lots. They're just like you. They're paying a note. They have a note generally for millions of dollars, and then they use that money to get the vehicles, and just like you, every month they pay a note on the car. They don't even own them, but they're not driving the cars, so they're not registered for the road. If there's a 2021, 2022 comes, or it's a 2022 and 2023 comes, there's still a new car. Nobody's bought, and the clock doesn't start ticking on tax, where they tax the vehicles and stuff, until they're actually registered on the road and driven. When they're crappy models, I've seen brand new ones that were 4 years old. They're still sitting on the lot, and they're still paying a note on that stupid thing until they sell it. But it's not registered for the road, so different rules apply. Arnoldism says, my '04 Volkswagen front brakes are stuck. Recently, my dad changed the front brakes on my Volkswagen, and today, the passenger brakes stayed on. When you take your foot off the gas, it just stops by itself. Hell, it may not just be a coincidence that your father just changed the brake pads. They make brake pads so cheaply these days, especially if you buy aftermarket ones that are made in China or some crazy little country. They actually make them the wrong size. In your case, they could be too big. If they're too big, they will drag. And of course, it'll be like you have your foot on the brake the whole time. So you not take your foot off, they're too big and they stick and they drag. That could easily be it. And you can also get caliper itself that's sticking. If that's the case, stop the car, quick jack it up. Try to turn the front wheels. If one wheel turns and the other doesn't, that means the caliper is stuck on the one that doesn't, and you'd have to replace the caliper. Now, on the other hand, if you jack it up and they're both really stuck, then like I said, either the brake pads are too big and they're stuck because they were the wrong size, or your brake master cylinder is sticking on and won't release, and then the front brakes will stay on because it's not releasing pressure. And to check that, it's easy. Say they're both stuck. All you gotta do is open the bleeder valve on each one. And if you open the bleeder valve and then they're not stuck anymore, that means the brake master cylinder isn't releasing, it needs a new brake master cylinder. Open them up and it's still stuck, that would probably mean the brake pads are too big because they're physically grabbing. And it doesn't matter the fluid, it's that they're physically stuck, and you open the bleeder valves, that won't stop them from being unstuck. Where if the master cylinder is stuck on, that's pressure, and when you open the valves, the pressure stops and they'll go. So now you know how to diagnose it. Carly Petrick Zek 526 says, how do I fix an intermittent no start? I got an '04 Mercury. Sometimes when I go to start, it makes a weird noise and it won't start. I keep trying to start it to get it start. What needs to be fixed? I'd like to hear the noise. You know, if you ever do ask me questions, make a YouTube video of noises and just put it on YouTube. It doesn't cost anything. Give me the URL. I can watch it and tell. But if it makes a weird noise, like it means your starter's wearing out. It's a little electric motor. On the end of it's called a Bendix drive, and it's got a gear that's supposed to hit the flywheel and make it spin. When they wear out, it won't hit the flywheel. It'll spin in the air, and you hear, if you hear a kind of a, it's barely cranking and starting the car, which either means your battery's worn out, there's a wiring short between the battery and the starter, like a loose or corroded connection, or the starter itself is going out. You can have the battery load tested like that, real easy test. So if you find out the battery's good and the wiring's tight, replace the starter. It's almost always a starter. And here's a real easy one too. Let's say you turn it and it won't start. Get a hammer or a stick and whack the starter while somebody tries to start. If it starts, then you know it's the starter, because starters are kind of like toasters. You get an old toaster, doesn't work, hit it by the side, whack, and then it starts toasting. Same thing. It means you need a new toaster, only in this case it means you need a new starter motor. Well, Carvana, the used car company's in the news again. They're just laid off 1,500 employees. You can see their stock is in free fall, the company's falling apart, and now they're laying people off. Now, Ernie Garcia, the CEO, gives his excuse. Not that they screwed up. Today is a hard day. We failed to accurately predict how the economy would play out and the impact it would have on our business. They charge too much money for their cars. They don't check them out that well. They just paid too much money and then charged more money. And now it's come home to roost on. The stock is down 97%. Now, Carvana grew like mad during the pandemic because, hey, you shop online, they deliver the vehicle to you. Or if you were selling your car, I saw people in Tennessee, they come right to your house. They gave you a check, took the car away. You didn't have to do anything. Right? It's convenient, yeah. But this convenience was all based on extraordinarily high prices that people are not refusing refusing to pay. And of course, one of the big deals was while they were falling apart, they bought that company ADESA, A-D-E-S-A, which is a car auction company. Well, if you watch any of my videos, you realize I say, don't buy cars from car auctions. A lot of it's junk. Hey, if somebody's got a good car, people will come and buy it. If it's junk, it goes to the auction. If it's got a problem, it goes to the auction, right? Buying a car auction company, another stupid move. They were just trying to get cars from anywhere because they couldn't find enough of them. So, let's sell auction cars to people. The worst thing you could possibly do. Auction cars are often problem cars. You can get a deal once in a while, but mainly, they're at an auction because it's a problem car. Buying a big auction company and then selling those cars, another stupid idea. Sometimes these people, they were grasping at straws to try to keep the company afloat. Then these idiots thought, oh, we'll buy a car auction company. They got a lot of cars. Yeah, a lot of junky cars, right? Hey, I say good riddance. I hope they go out of business. They charge people too much money. They sold a lot of junky cars at way too high prices, and they blame it. Well, it's the economic situation. It's not us. No, it's the stupid decisions they made. They've come home to roost, and I say, ha! So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.